Hey, this is Chris. I'm a psychologist and a triathlon coach, and in this video I'm going to look at how do we stop comparing ourselves and our performances to others. So maybe you're new to running, triathlon, cycling, whatever it is you're doing, and you're just not as fast as everyone. Maybe you just don't have that much natural ability. Maybe you just work really hard and you just don't get the results that other people get, and it feels really unfair and frustrating because everyone else seems to be faster than you, and then you compare yourselves to them and feel pretty crappy about yourself. Now, if that is you, then this video is for you, because we're going to break down why maybe you shouldn't feel that way and maybe why we're judging ourselves a little harshly there. But it's really easy to do. I'm a psychologist and even I do it sometimes and think, why aren't I faster? Why can't I be fair? And some of it is natural ability. We all have a different body. We all have different physiological characteristics, and how trainable our body is one of those partly genetic characteristics. So for some of us, we're going to put in the same effort level as someone else, and maybe they will go faster than us because the training just works better than them, or maybe just right out of the blocks they can just run really fast naturally without much training. And so it might be they're just naturally fast, it might be they're fast because their body responds better to training, and all of that feels unfair, but that's a natural thing. It's not necessarily that you're doing something wrong or that you have an inferior body. We all just have different bodies with different levels of natural ability and different levels of trainability as well. Now, of course, there's many other factors to consider as well. So when we look at someone else and we think, they're so fast and it's unfair, there's a bunch of other characteristics that isn't necessarily our physiological body, or somehow that we're not good enough or damaged. But we also have to look at things like, well, what's our work commitment like? Maybe we don't have time to do as much training. Maybe we have a family and we need to spend time with our kids and want to spend time with our kids, and that reduces the amount of training we can do. Maybe we sit at a desk all day and somebody else is a cycle courier, and so they kind of get that training all day, whereas our job means that we're sat at a desk and it's not ideal. It reduces maybe our flexibility, it reduces the amount of time we spend on our feet. Maybe there are diet issues, maybe we can't eat the same stuff, or that maybe we're just naturally hungrier, naturally carry a bit more weight than other people. And then there are psychological issues as well, like maybe our lives are just stressful, and that stress impacts on our training, on our running, on our cycling. And so the amount of factors that we need to consider when we look at ourselves compared to someone else, it's very easy to say, well, they're just better than us, I'm broken, I'm inferior. But there's all these factors about sleep and stress and work situation and diet and the amount of time that we have to train, as well as our natural ability and our body's ability to adapt to training, that we need to consider. So it's a very complex picture why someone else might be quicker than us. So ultimately, we want to not have that debate, we will not have that discussion, because as an individual, you are worthwhile, you are worthy of love and respect, regardless of how fast you can run a 5K. And if someone else can run a 5K faster than you, then that doesn't mean anything, because that doesn't mean they're somehow better than you. So I encourage you to think that way, but also remember that the run world is almost set up a lot of the time to stop us thinking that way. So we get a result, we get a time, this gets published on a big list where we get compared to everyone else, and we get an age-graded rating of how we're doing compared to everyone else, what position we were. And so it's very easy a lot of the time in the sport world to get into that competitive mode of comparing ourselves to everyone else. And it's very difficult to remember that the main person that we are racing in endurance sports is ourselves, that we're not elite athletes going to the Olympics, where maybe genuinely our success can be defined by our competition with other people. Most of us are doing this for fun, we're doing it to enjoy it, to improve our health, And so the main person that we want to race against is ourselves. And we need to deliberately remind ourselves that, because the run and the triathlon world is set up to give us these results, to compare us against other people. One exercise that can be useful here is to ask ourselves and reflect on the question, where do I draw my self-esteem? Where do I draw my sense of self-worth? Because we're drawing it from somewhere, and typically we don't really think about it and it's just implicitly done, and a lot of the time we draw it from other people and comparing ourselves to others. There's maybe some social evolution reasons why we would do that, and why happiness would be a function designed for us to compare ourselves to other people. But as humans with control over our thoughts, we can decide whether we do that or not. And we can ask ourselves the question, okay, well, what makes me a worthwhile person? Is it whether I can outrun other people? Is it what other people think of me? Or is it how I feel about myself and whether I feel like I'm leading a good, happy, healthy life? And of course, when we think about it, most of us go for the latter. Most of us feel like if we're out there doing it, tackling our own personal goals, then that's a great life and we're doing really well there. But by making that explicit, we can remove that implicit bias that tells us we need to compare our 5K times to everyone else to see how fast we are, because that's what will make us a worthwhile person. And of course, that's not true. Another really useful question to ask ourselves here is, well, why did I get into running, cycling, triathlon, whatever it is you're doing? Because chances are you didn't get into running to beat everyone else over 5 kilometers. Like some people did, but that's not the goal for most of us runners. Most of us got in because we wanted to improve our physical health, because we wanted to improve our mental health, because we wanted to demonstrate and role model leading a healthy life to our children. Or maybe we just found it fun, it was a social thing to do, we could go to run club, we could meet new people, and that was enjoyable. And so by reminding ourselves of our main goal, we can see that it really doesn't matter how fast we run. If we're out there challenging ourselves, pushing our limits, leading a healthy life, improving our mental health, whatever it is, that happens at any pace. And so when we remind ourselves of that, that automatically reminds us that it really doesn't matter how fast we're running, as long as we are achieving our goals. Hopefully that was useful. If so, please give this video a thumbs up. Let me know how you feel about it in the comments. And if you do a lot of running, a lot of endurance sports, and you want tips on psychology, coaching on running, then hit the subscribe button, because that's what my channel's all about. And I would love to have you as a subscriber.